which team is going to be the worst in the NBA next season? We unintentionally already answered this question, right? Because we did a segment on the San Antonio Spurs draft and Josh Primo, and I said, listen, I think the Spurs might be the worst team in the NBA next season. Then we posted it on TikTok. It got a lot of hits on TikTok. It got posted on Twitter. Spurs Twitter came after us, and we unintentionally already answered this question. But now this is a legit topic. This is a topic of its own. Which team will be the worst in the NBA? What do you think, Riv?
You know, I don't want to. I want to delve down on San Antonio. I don't think they'll be the worst. I think, you know, they're more of like a wait and see process. You know, they have a lot of young talent and a lot of guys who are a little bit unproven, and it's a wait and see for them. I thought about
Twitter scared him straight. That's what it was.
Yeah,
Scared him straight.
What Joel like to say? I went back and I looked at all the information. You know what I'm saying? So now I looked at OKC as an option too. But you know, SGA, if he stays healthy, I think they'll be a competitive team. Lugan Dortz, Darius Baisley, you know, Josh Giddey, they just drafted him, so you know they're gonna be all right. I think as long as they stay healthy. Sacramento was the team I looked at, but I think for the two teams, and this I was jockeying between these two teams.
Sacramento. As the worst team?
I know, that's why it
No. I said I was thinking about Sacramento, but I ended up not picking them because I feel like De'Aaron Fox is there. You know, Halliburton is there. They just drafted Davion Mitchell, so I don't think they're going to be the worst team. They're going to be competitive for a long time. I think I jockeyed between these two teams, the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Houston Rockets. I think Houston Rockets being as if they're so young, and John Wall, he's still a bit injury prone. Jalen Green's fresh. Sengun is fresh. You know, Christian Wood, he was in the lineup, but he had a lot of injuries that kind of nagged him throughout the season. But I think with the West being so stacked, you know, the Pelicans, the Warriors, the Suns, the Jazz, the Lakers, the Clippers, Portland, them being so stacked as it is, I can see Houston at being at the bottom and still being a competitive team, just being the worst team in the league. And then, of course, Cleveland, you know, with their logjam, they kind of just have guys that kind of don't fit. And we still don't know what they're going to be. So I think with that being said, they're still a really bad defensive team, but they have a lot of young talent. But still, Kevin Love is there. We don't know what he's going to do. Lauri Markkanen, he's still a wait and see, hoping on his potential. Evan Mobley's a rookie, so you're not going to really rely on him too much. And we know what Jared Allen is.
They were good defensively last season.
They was.
Keelan, yeah. I'm pretty sure they were top 10.
Well, they just picked up Lauri, so they lost Larry Nance.
And they got
They did add,
rookie. They lost their best defender in Larry Nance. They picked up Lauri Markkanen, who is, from a Bulls fan, I will tell you, one of the worst defensive bigs in the league.
They were the 17th ranked defense.
17?
Yeah.
Well, Lauri, losing Larry.
It's not that great.
Losing Larry, gaining Lauri, it keeps him in the 20 range.
Adding Mobley, though, we'll see. They have him.
So those are my two teams.
25th defensive rating, though.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So
they
lied.
were bad.
Nah, I'm pretty
you
sure.
probably seen them play the Nets.
Top 10, top 10 they were. I mean, the Nets gave them like 140.
I know what you're talking about. It was a stretch where they were top 10 in the league in defense. But those are my two teams. Still just trying to figure out which. I would say
the Cavaliers and
in the East, I got the Cavs. In the West, I got Houston.
Wow.
Yeah, so those are my two
The
teams.
Houston one's interesting to me, especially Jalen Green, John Wall still there.
Rookie, John Wall's injury prone.
Fair enough. But I just think the Magic overall, whole roster taken into account, they don't have the matchups that I guess that the Rockets would have. Jonathan Isaac coming off significant.
I heard he's looked really good.
Which I don't doubt because he's a good ball player. It's just that
really
I can't
good.
trust that he's going to be on the court for an entire season.
Well, that's my West team, so don't do that.
Okay, it said NBA. That was the question.
I wanted to pick two.
Hey, you're an overachiever.
I'm just saying, with the Rockets, you're selling them short because John Wall last year averaged 20 points per game.
Mm-hmm.
He had a great season. Christian Wood averaged 20 and 10 when he was on the court.
Wasn't he an All-Star and then wasn't selected because he was hurt?
He was supposed to be an All-Star definitely last year. He was supposed to. It was because he didn't play
he
much.
made the roster. I could have.
No, he didn't make the roster.
He was not supposed to be an All-Star.
He never made the roster. I thought he should have gotten the All-Star nod if he kept the trajectory. Anthony Davis.
Okay, that's he's a big.
Yeah.
He's a forward. He wasn't gonna, First of all, wait, hold on.
He's over AD based on last season. Yes, he is.
You know what?
In the All-Star game, you're saying.
In the All-Star game,
say this.
If C. Wood stays healthy.
If De'Aaron Fox wasn't going to get in, John Wall wasn't going to get in.
I'm talking about Christian Wood.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm thinking you said John Wall.
No,
I'm sorry.
I'm talking about Christian Wood.
I'm with you on that one.
So John Wall averaged 20. Christian Wood averaged 20. Jalen Green, we know he's a bucket. KPJ Is he going to take a step up? I think he is.
I think so too.
This team has a lot of talent. I don't think they're going to be the worst in the West. Definitely not. I don't think they are. If that's your opinion, okay, yeah. Drew, who do you have?
I have the Magic as the worst team right now. I just think that overall, talent-wise, they don't match up well with a bunch of the other East teams that had gotten better. The West is a significantly better conference in my opinion, at least. And I just look at the starting roster. Point guard, they're probably going to start Jalen Suggs either at the 1 or the 2. Probably they're going to be forced to start either Gary Harris or Markelle Fultz. I'm going to assume they're going to start Markelle because they just gave him the contract. They're not going to start Terrence Ross. They have Wendell Carter Jr. as their big. Robin Lopez off the bench. This roster is just a bunch of names that I'm just not impressed with overly. And it's just, you think about all the other teams that are in the conference. The Pistons, at least, they just got the number 1 pick in Cade Cunningham. I already like him more than I like every player on Orlando as is. Cavaliers, their starting 5 is better than Orlando's, which is why I don't think they'll be the worst team. And you bring it to the West, you mentioned the Spurs. I think the Spurs will be better because they're better coached than the Magic are just off rip. And we see them be competitive year in, year out regardless of that. But as the roster goes, I can understand comparing the two. As you mentioned, Houston, I just can't back that yet just because I think KPJ is going to take a jump. I'm a big fan of Jalen Green's. John Wall is still a respectable ball player in this league. Christian Wood is very good as well. So overall, I just feel like the Magic have the worst roster. And coaching-wise is not... Of course, they're bringing in a new head coach, and we don't know much about him yet. But going into the season right now, I have the Magic as the worst.
When talking about which team will be the worst in the NBA, I have to break it down like it's a math equation.
You don't.
And the two conferences in the NBA, East and West, you have to look at every single likely possibility. And you have to look at the teams and be honest with yourself and say, do they have a chance of being the worst team? And in the East, I look at the Magic, the Cavs, and the Pistons, and I say they all have a chance at being the worst team in that conference. Who would I say is the worst team? I'd probably say the Magic because I think the Cavs starting lineup is better. I think the Pistons with Jeremy Grant and Cade Cunningham have more talent to work with, at least right now, more proven talent, even though Cade is not proven, but I'm banking on him regardless. Mm-hmm. Then I look at the Western Conference. I look at the Spurs. I look at the Thunder. I look at the Rockets. Houston is not in this discussion. Thinking about it, knowing the talent they have, J. Wall, Green, C. Wood, KPJ, I'm going to let them go out. So it's between the Thunder and the Spurs for me. The Thunder because, yes, they have Shea, but outside of Shea, who else is a threat on that roster? Nobody else is a threat. Lou Dort, he had some big games last year. He's a lockdown defender, but in terms of an offensive initiator, what is he going to be? Josh Giddey as a rookie. I like Josh Giddey a lot. I like his long-term upside, but as a rookie this season, how much of an impact is he really going to make? They lost Al Horford also in trade. He was their best center. Now, who do they start at center? There are a lot of holes on his roster. Because of that, I think the Thunder have a huge possibility at being the worst team in the league. And then I look at the Spurs. The Spurs undoubtedly will be a bottom 5 team in the NBA. The Spurs undoubtedly will be a bottom 5 team in the NBA. But the worst, I'm not quite sure because they still have a lot of young talent that can play together, like Lonnie Walker, Keldon Johnson, DeJounte Murray, Devin Vassell, Jakob Poeltl, who's a very good defender, one of the better defenders at the big man position in the NBA. But it's funny because when Spurs Twitter came after our video and talked about the Spurs and how much young talent they have and how cohesive they're going to play, and they downplayed the losses of DeMar DeRozan, of Rudy Gay, and Patty Mills. And the main argument they use for DeMar DeRozan not being so valuable is that he had a negative net rating and he didn't have a positive plus minus. Well, if that's the case, then Rudy Gay was a big loss because Rudy Gay had the best net rating on their team last year, and they lost Rudy Gay. Another point they make, we got Doug McDermott who's going to help us out with three-point shooting. Yeah, but you lost your best 3-point shooter in Patty Mills as well. You lost your best 3-point shooter. You lost Rudy Gay, who has become a solid defender and who's always been a solid offensive player, and you lost your best player in DeMar DeRozan. Because of that, I don't have any hope for the Spurs. They are going to be one of the worst teams in the NBA. The worst, I'm not sure. If I have to take a wild guess right now, I think the worst team in the NBA is going to be OKC. Second is Orlando. Third is San Antonio.
I got to push back on that because you look at it. Let's stay in the West for a little bit because I think on the East we can agree. Orlando, you said Orlando, but you both said Cleveland could be in that conversation, so we could kind of agree on that end. So let's just stick in the West for a little bit. You said Josh Giddey's a rookie. You don't know how much he's going to contribute. Houston has about 3-4 rookies that's probably going to be in the rotation all season. Sengun, Garuba, Josh Christopher, Jalen Green. That's 4 rookies. I don't know if
Sengun is going to be in the rotation.
Well, who's their backup big?
Daniel Tice.
Didn't they take Sengun over Garuba?
Yeah.
Garuba was a later pick, yeah.
So that's what I'm saying.
Well, they're going to get into the rotation.
I mean, you don't know because with Houston, Jay Sean Tate, Kenyon Martin Jr.
Well, we don't know if Christian Wood and John Wall are going to stay healthy all year. That's something we don't know.
Isn't Jay Sean a small forward?
Jay Sean can play. He's
like a
both.
PJ Tucker.
Okay.
So,
he can play both.
So we don't know if those two are going to say. So you're relying on basically Jalen Green to be your one of your leading scorers from day one.
You don't think he can do that?
Didn't say that. But I'm saying in San Antonio, it's a little different. DeJounte Murray, you kind of know what he is. Derek White, you kind of know what he is. Keldon Johnson, you kind of know what he is. He's also improving. There's a lot of guys.
I mean, Keldon Johnson can be improving all he wants. But the bottom line is that the players that had the worst defensive rating on the Spurs last year weren't DeRozan. It wasn't Rudy Gay. It wasn't Patty Mills. It was Lonnie Walker Jr. Lonnie Walker Jr. is not a good defender at all. Keldon Johnson Jr. was second in terms of players that matter and get a Keldon Johnson, my fault. Keldon Johnson in terms of players that matter, he was second. He had the second worst defensive rating. Lonnie Walker and Keldon Johnson are not good defenders.
Jalen Green is?
I'm not saying Jalen Green is, but Jalen Green is 10 times a scorer. Either of those guys are.
That's a fact.
That's a fair point. Well, we don't know, but we could assume.
Well, I'm just saying that.
No, we could definitely assume that
if the Spurs made more moves in the offseason, I'd be okay with their team.
But Houston made rookie moves.
But they already have a good foundation. Christian Wood is better than anybody on the Spurs.
Yeah, but to say they already have a foundation.
And John Wall,
It's arguable.
Based on how John Wall played last year, I might take him over DeJounte Murray.
The only thing is
strictly
John Wall
right now as a player.
John Wall missed time last season too.
But to say they have foundation when San Antonio only lost 3 guys, most of their guys are still there.
Their best player in DeRozan.
And they still have
Patty Mills has been a foundational guy for them for years.
But DeJounte Murray has been a foundation for them recently. Same with Keldon.
Who's the best backup point guard in the league, would you say? I think it's probably Patty Mills, right?
No, I told you it was Monte Morris.
You think Monte Morris is better than Patty Mills?
On the same level.
I don't think he's better than Patty Mills.
Patty's a better shooter.
I think Patty Mills is just a gamer. He's more of a gamer than Monte Morris.
I don't even know what that means.
It means that you step up when things get tough.
What do you, ball his life now?
Is Campaign better than Patty Mills?
I say no.
You the ball his life guy now?
I say Patty Mills.
Okay. That's what you're saying?
That's not ball his life, bro.
I'm just saying, San Antonio has Greg Popovich.
Who's old as hell.
Don't you dare.
But come on, let's just be honest.
He's old as hell and still is 10 times better than Houston.
Who's
Houston's coach?
I love Greg
coach?
Popovich.
Who's Houston's coach?
Steven Silas.
So are you serious? It doesn't matter how old Popovich is. He's still above
I get it.
Silas.
Greg Popovich is a great coach still. I'm not knocking him. But how much is he really going to invest into this roster? Let's be honest. I think retirement is just around the corner for him. He's probably not fully invested into this roster.
That doesn't mean he is going to make him compete. And you downplayed OKC as if they wasn't a really competitive team. Even they're probably going to they're walking in the same team last year. Obviously, they're losing Al Horford, but for the most part, they have around the same team with a couple guys added. They were 16-19 with their best player at the time.
But Shea playing the best basketball he's ever played in his life.
You don't think he's going to be able to do it? First of all, and people love he's going to have the same role that he had last year.
No,
the same
like
situation.
Shea, but I'm just saying, let's not.
He's one of the best ISO
OKC
scorers in the league.
Let's not act like OKC when you see them on talent. It's not one of the worst rosters in the league. I'd honestly say the only reason I'd put them over Orlando is because Orlando doesn't have a proven guy.
Yep.
The only thing holding OKC above water is that they have Shea.
Yep.
That's it. And he's a great player, but OKC's roster is not better than San Antonio top to bottom. It's not. Outside of once it's Shea, it's a bunch of Spurs, and then it's an OKC guy.
It wasn't better than their roster last year.
Who?
OKC wasn't better than San Antonio's roster last year.
And the Spurs are better.
Yeah, but they weren't. I'm saying they weren't the worst team in the league at the time when they had their best player. Like I think we're looking at the rosters, yeah, but I think we're downplaying the fact that they play around their best player. Their best player leads the charge, and the other guys follow suit.
You're talking about OKC here now.
Yes, I'm talking about OKC.
Okay,
Houston doesn't necessarily have that. You know, Christian Wood is undoubtedly their best player, but they don't have that where they can just rally around their best players, or they have that type of leader.
So you don't think last year Houston basically tanking the second half of the season had anything to do with them potentially losing their top 4 pick? If they were outside of it would have went to OKC. Houston, you could see during the end. I mean, don't forget when they first traded away James Harden, when they had Oladipo, Christian Wood, and John Wall, they went on a 5-game win streak. They were very
then they
competitive.
started losing.
Then they started losing.
Christian Wood went out.
Then they traded Oladipo.
John Wall
then they went
hurt.
into a full rebuild. They started tanking because they wanted to get their pick. All I'm saying is that let's not act like Houston doesn't have a lot of talent because
but it's a lot of, like you said, unproven talent.
John Wall and Seawood are not unproven.
What else?
KPJ's unproven.
But then compare it to who?
It's a different role. We don't know yet.
No,
we don't know yet. That's a fact. With KPG, we don't know yet. He's very talented, but we don't know
but
in a new role.
Proven.
How is he proved? What has he proved?
Who are you talking
about? KPG. What has he proved?
Kevin Porter Jr.
Nah,
what has he proved?
He's a solid ball player.
But what has he proved, though?
I mean, he could be a good playmaker, and he has the ability to score the
basketball. What has he proved? What do you mean what he's proved? Last year he averaged 14 to 16 points per game.
Said he was a proven player.
I know what KPJ is going to be.
He's not a bad ball player.
I never said he was a bad player, but he said he's proven as if we don't know. He's in a new role this year.
Okay, so what's his floor then? What do you think Kevin Porter Jr.'s floor is then? In terms of points per game and averages.
Points per game?
Yeah. What's his floor?
15, 16.
Oh, so he's still a good player.
No, you overshot him. If you were going to say anything, I do think he's a 15, 16 point per game, but floor, and you're not saying that he's proven? Like, that's...
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
He's in a completely new role.
But you just said his floor is 15 a game.
Because let's be honest, he's not going to be asked to be the best.
Who's not taking a guy who can score 15 a game if that's their floor?
How many games did he play with the Rockets last year?
I got it. Keep talking.
Nah, you good, Drew. You could finish the conversation.
But regardless of that fact, he's not going to be asked to score that much.
Why is he not? He's asked to be a star in Houston.
He's going to be asked to facilitate the offense.
He played 26. He played 26 games and averaged 17.
How many assists did he average?
Do with Cleveland?
He averaged 6 assists.
Bro,
he didn't play with Cleveland last year.
So he just played 26 games.
Yes.
Why didn't he play with Cleveland?
Because there were some issues that they had internally.
Okay. All right. So 26 games. He averaged 17 and 6 assists. Now playing with, and I'm pretty sure John Wall didn't play a bulk of those games because that was towards the end of the season.
John Wall did come back, but he did miss a good amount.
So
of games.
that was when no John Wall, no Jalen Green, just him out there.
No, there was games where John Wall was
for the majority of the games.
See that I don't know.
So let me ask you this:
this is a new role.
So you don't think with more talent around him he's going to play better?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Like you said with Giddey, he's unproven. Like you said with
Giddey's a rookie.
No, you said Dort's also. No, you said Dort's also. We don't know.
No. I never said Dort is we don't know. I said Dort defensively we know what he is.
Offensively we don't know yet.
Yeah, but I think that's a pretty fair statement because we've seen him for 2 years now.
We've seen KPJ for 2 years.
But we've seen what KPJ is on offense, bro.
No, but
for
KPJ,
26 games, though?
We know he's a good offensive player. That's not up for debate. He scored 50 on the Bucks.
He did.
Okay. So 26 games makes you a proven player, is what you're saying.
I'm saying I know in terms of offensively, I know what I'm getting out of KPJ.
Houston,
I can rely on him.
Houston, he's supposed to be a star there. We can all agree. He's one of their franchise.
That's what they're hoping he becomes.
All I'm going to say is he did this with John Wall.
That's what I wanted to know.
He did this with John Wall.
Okay.
John Wall missed the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games of the year. A good portion, they played together.
Good.
So he did it with John Wall, basically, pretty much.
That's my thing. I think, if anything, what you could say is the points are going to fall, but I think the assists are going to go up. He's going to be asked.
So let me ask you this, Riv. Sorry to cut you off.
That's all right, bro.
So Shea, right? He's OKC's best offensive player. If the ball is not in his hands, who else is going to initiate?
like as of their team right now?
Yes.
Giddey.
I was gonna say if he's there playing healthy.
So Giddey, a rookie. You're relying on a rookie, and I'm high on Giddey.
I'm relying on SGA.
I'm high on Giddey, but you have been vocal this entire draft. You don't like Giddey.
But I've said I'm relying on SGA.
Yep.
That's what I've said.
So that means that outside of SGA, your second best initiator is Josh Giddey, who's a rookie.
Well, who was it last year?
Exactly, and last year he sucked.
When he didn't play.
He's solely basing it on SGA. Just
like
playing.
when he didn't play. I can't. If he doesn't play, they were like 6. They're horrible. But when he plays, they're pretty. I'm not gonna say they're competitive.
They're competitive.
Even when he has the ball in his hands for the majority of the game, which he does, they're a competitive team. He makes plays for his team. That's all. When he plays, though, speaking on strictly when he plays, not when he doesn't play, because obviously they're the worst team in the league by far. But when he plays, they're a pretty competitive team.
That's true because Shea is that good. But at the same time, I don't think that he can make up the deficit of the lack of talent on that roster. Because after is Giddey, is Lou Dort, then it's Baisley, then I don't even know who their starting center is right now. I think it might be Derek Favors.
Yeah,
it might be Derek Favors.
Didn't they just draft somebody?
No, they didn't draft any center in the draft.
I could look it up right
now. They
have
Jeremiah Robinson Earl on the team. They did draft him. But there's a huge drop-off with Houston. I know that there's a good chunk of guys that can come in and contribute, and I could rely on them and are solid role players.
That's fair.
I know John Wall and Christian Wood are both giving me 20 a game. I know C Wood's going to give me that.
Yeah.
John Wall, if he takes a back seat and lets KPJ shine, I know KPJ is capable of averaging 18 and 7. Jalen Green, I think he can easily average 16 as a rookie. And if he averages 16 as a rookie, that's great for him. And now you got a bunch of guys. So, I think Houston has a lot of talent. For them to be the worst team in the West, I just don't see it. Like I said, I think it's between the Spurs and OKC. I get the Spurs have the coaching, but let's not forget that this coach has also been late to the three-point revolution and has not adjusted his offensive game plan around how the league is trending. The Spurs have been a mid-range team since this three-point revolution began. They have stuck to it. He stuck to that philosophy.
You could say that, but he had them in the play-in last year. The year before that, he took Denver to 7, if I'm not mistaken.
What has it been over the last 3 years? They haven't been good.
When the Spurs took the Nuggets.
Last 3, because 17 they made it. I'm pretty sure they still had Kawhi. That's when he had the ankle injury. I could be wrong, but I'm saying if I'm going based off.
No, they did make it.
So okay, I was going to say
17 they went to the WCF.
And then 18.
Kawhi got. No, then 18 they went to the WCF.
It was one of the two.
No, Kawhi didn't play that
19
year.
he went
Kawhi
to exactly.
So 17 WCF. Kawhi didn't play 18. 19 they got DeMar. They played Denver in 7 games. They lost, and now I forgot what happened in the bubble. I completely forgot.
That series 2019 versus Denver in the first round, they had DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge. Yes. LaMarcus Aldridge, I believe, was still averaging 18 and 9 at that point.
That was the mid-range guys.
Yeah, exactly. And then you look at the very next year, only having DeRozan. I believe they barely made the playoffs. They were in the play-in, in the bubble.
In the bubble, they were there?
I believe they were in the play-in in the bubble.
They were somewhere. They went to the bubble. I know that. They definitely went.
They didn't make the playoffs in 2020.
No, Portland was the AFC. They couldn't have made the playoffs. They lost. Okay. They lost. When those last 3-4 games, they lost, yeah. But they got invited to the bubble.
Okay, yeah. So they haven't made the playoffs the last 2 years.
Yeah, Spurs were 11th seed.
Yep, there it is.
They haven't made the playoffs the last 2 years, and you're losing DeRozan. And their entire team is predicated on mid-range guys. Yep. Keldon Johnson is not an outside shooter. Lonnie Walker is one of their better ones. Then you look at DeJounte Murray. He's never been known to be that. Yeah. Their team is still modeled around this mid-range game. That's why I don't think they've caught up. And defensively, Keldon Johnson, Lonnie Walker are not good defenders. Jakob Poeltl is an underrated defender. He's one of the best centers defensively in the NBA. Jakob Poeltl. DeJounte Murray, we know, but I'm just saying with this talent, I mentioned this before. If Keldon Johnson doesn't take that MIP leap, Doug McDermott could average the most points on this team.
Over
or at least
DeJounte?
Or second. Okay. You're right. DeJounte's first, but Doug McDermott, with the role he's gonna have on San Antonio, can
Derek
average
White
16.
More than him.